welcome to my morning routine. I typically eat the same thing, drink the same thing every morning for the most part. So I wanted to share that with you guys. A lot of people ask me about nutrition, and the way I typically do things is I would like to bring you guys a full day of eating soon, but for now we'll start with breakfast. So I eat most of my calories up front in the day, and then I eat most of my calories in the evening right now because it's super hot. And ideally I want to be eating all day, but I notice that sometimes I get sick during my workouts, or I just really don't feel good, or I'll get stomach aches, and I think that's due to the food in my stomach with how hot it's been. So right now I'm making sure I load up a bunch of calories in the front end of my day. I'll definitely eat something throughout the day, and then I definitely load up my calories on the back end of the day. And for me, that seems to work really well. With nutrition, I think the most important thing to remember is everyone's a little bit different. So you have to kind of play with trial and error and see what works for you. But the first thing I start with is my coffee every single morning. So I wanted to share with you guys how I make that. I weigh everything, and I've learned that actually using the measuring scoop is not super accurate. And I just do that right now, not because I'm worried about not eating enough, or it's actually because I'm worried about not eating enough. I'm not doing it to restrict my calories or make sure I don't eat too much, but instead I want to make sure that I'm getting enough carbohydrates in and that I'm not forgetting to eat throughout the day because of the heat. So I just pop my little steamer, I'll tear it out to 0. I change my units to milliliters because that's what this is measured in. And then I'll do 240 milliliters, which is about 1 cup. From here, this is, by the way, oat milk, original, non-sweetened. I tend to do better with this than with dairy. From here, I'll just turn on my little coffee pot or espresso machine, I guess. Pop it under, and then I'll start my steaming. Should kick on here in a second. While it's steaming, I'm gonna go ahead and make my espresso. All right, so I just then dump my steamed oat milk into my mug, and I usually do 2 shots of espresso. So I just hit my 2 shots. While that's happening, I start to weigh out my oats. So I usually do 40 grams of oats, which is about 1 serving, so it's about 1/2 cup. So I'll weigh out my 40 grams of my oats. Then I add water to those. I like to try to multitask. So while my coffee's going, I'm starting my oats, and then I'm gonna start my eggs. So oats go in. I usually do 1.5 minutes because if I do 2 minutes, sometimes they boil over and then I make a mess in the microwave. So while that's starting, now I'm gonna start my toast. So I actually eat oats and toast in the morning. I was doing just a really big bowl of oats and my stomach was getting a little bit upset. So I think it's good to kind of have a little bit of different carbs in your meal. So I'm gonna do 2 slices of the Dave's 21 whole grain and seeds bread. Not super picky about my bread, but I usually do try to go with whole grain. So in these 2 slices, there's about 44 grams of carbs. There's about 27 grams of carbs in my oatmeal. So I'll just start my toaster, and now it's time for the eggs. So while everything's happening, I'll start my eggs. So we use ghee clarified butter with sunflower and olive oil cooking spray. You can get lots of different ones, but this seems to be one that we really like. And I'll just turn it on low. And from here, what I'm gonna have is I actually do, so it just depends for fat. Sometimes I do more egg whites, and then I'll toss peanut butter or almond butter into my oats. Or other days I do whole eggs. I just definitely try to mix it up, but make sure I'm getting a good balance between fat, carb, and protein throughout my meal. So today I'm gonna do 2 eggs. Oops, kind of made a mess. So there's 1. I like to cook them on low. 2, which that'll have about 10 grams of fat. And then I'm gonna do just a little bit of broccoli. So my hands are clean. I did wash them. We'll use a fork. So my oats are done. And then I'm gonna I like to mix broccoli into my eggs. And then I'll shred it as well. So it's not huge chunks. And I didn't weigh my broccoli, but it's probably like 50 grams of steamed broccoli. So I'll just let that sit for a minute. Get my oats out. Ooh, hot. All right, so now once my eggs are done cooking, I literally just eat pretty simple 2 pieces of toast with, I did 2 eggs and I did throw 1 egg white in with a little bit of broccoli. And I salted that with pink Himalayan sea salt because when I'm sweating a lot, I want to make sure that I have salt. So that is my sandwich. And then I've just got plain oats here. I don't mind plain oats. I actually kind of like them, but I'll add just some cinnamon if I need a little extra flavor. I love cinnamon. If you guys have seen my stories lately, you know I've been crushing some cinnamon life at night, the cereal with some almond or oat milk. And then I have my oat milk latte. So just 2 shots of espresso with 1 cup of unsweetened oat milk. And all in all, this together is 88 grams of carbohydrates, 20 grams of fat, and 34 grams of protein. So it's about 50, 30, 20, which is typically how my whole day ends. I definitely eat a lot more carbs right now as the competition is on the horizon and as my conditioning and my workouts volume is starting to increase. So I just want to make sure I have that fuel, and I find that I do better on a little bit of a higher carbohydrate diet. So now that this is all made, it's really hot. So usually I let it cool down for just a second so I don't burn my mouth, and I'm going to go ahead and make my reds and greens. I don't eat a ton of fruit throughout the day, so I like to make sure that I get them in. If you guys follow my story, this is something I do every single morning. I'm gonna make it and show you guys. And then from there, I also take 2 to 4 fish oil every single morning. And I swear the fish oil helps with my joints, it helps with my inflammation, it helps with my soreness. It's also a good healthy fat that we should have in our diet that we might not be getting from all of our food sources. So I typically do 1 scoop in the morning, and then I'll do 1 scoop in the middle of the day. You can do your 2 scoops at once. It's whatever you feel best, but I just go ahead and dump them together. I think the reds make the greens just a little bit sweeter. I don't have a fork, use my spoon. It's hot. So the reds just make it just a little bit sweeter. And if you do 2 scoops, it's gonna be a little bit thicker and a little bit harder to get down. But just chug it. Know it's good for you, and just chug it. So I typically just mix it together. It's gonna come out with this really dark color, and I try to chug it. But it's actually something that's grown on me where I miss the flavor and I miss the taste if it's something that I haven't had. So I've been doing this for a little over a year, just about every single day, unless I've run out and I forgot to place my order. But I noticed that it really helps, one, my skin, my stomach, with eating all of the carbs and all of the food. I think it definitely helps my digestion. It helps it's supposed to be immune boosting, so hopefully keeping me from getting sick. And it just makes me feel good, and I like to feel good, so I keep doing it. I think it's important to remember, like I touched on in the start, that everyone is a little bit different. And I definitely follow macros, but again, for me, it's kind of a loose guide. And it's a guide to make sure that I'm eating throughout the day, because coming from an endurance background and from swimming and lots of running, I always had the mentality of being lighter and just eating less because I wasn't able to do the long runs with a lot of food in my stomach. So for me, it's interesting to have that transfer into CrossFit where I need the fuel and I need the energy to be able to lift the weights and to have the output that I need. So I need to make sure that I sit down at the start of the day and I get a good solid meal to build off of for the rest of my training and for the rest of my day. I also think it's important to remember, like, maybe you eat all of your macros, but you notice that you're maybe moody or you're cranky or you have no energy, or you're just tired. And it's okay to maybe do a refeed or eat a little bit more because your body might be hungry and it might need more food and more fuel. For instance, for me last night, I woke up, it was 1:04 a.m. and I think I'd been awake for probably 20 minutes prior, and I was just laying in bed and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so hungry. And I felt like I ate a really big dinner. I had a snack before I went to bed, and my stomach was growling, and I didn't feel like I could go back to sleep with how hungry I was. So I was like, okay, maybe I'm thirsty. So I got up and I drank a little bit of water, and I sat down here with Milo. He followed me down to see what was going on. It's 1 o'clock in the morning, and I just decided, like, I'm hungry. So I actually ate 2 bowls of Life cereal, and I ate a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and I went back to sleep, and I slept great. And I woke up and I'm still hungry. I still feel normal. I still feel like I need to get all of this fuel in. So for me, it just shows that my body needed that. And I actually was really dragging yesterday. And with that food that I ate last night and with having my breakfast this morning, like, I feel ready to go and I'm excited to hit that training session. So I think it's important to remember that sometimes you do need to refeed. You do need to make sure that you're just getting enough nutrients and listen to your body. Yes, macros are great. Yes, it's good to have a good rigid thing to follow, but at the same time, you need to be okay to go off of those and understand that sometimes you just need to do that to feel good and to take care of yourself. So I hope that's something, or if you guys have experienced that and you're waking up hungry at night, maybe add a couple more calories to your diet. You might increase your mood, your crankiness might go away, you might be able to have more intensity in your workouts. So just kind of pay attention to all of those factors outside of the gym as well. It's something that I do on a regular basis, and it's something that's helped me as I learn and continue to grow in being in the sport and learning how to train hard and also fuel my body the proper way. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I've been wanting to share a little bit more about my nutrition with you guys. If you have any more questions about nutrition, if there's anything you want to see, feel free to drop it below. I've tried a lot of different things and I'm still always constantly learning, and my nutrition's changing as the season changes and my competition season changes. So know that too, is know that one thing's not going to work forever, but you do have to grow and change, and it is trial and error. But I hope you guys have enjoyed this. I know it's nothing fancy, but it's delicious and I enjoy it. So if you're looking for a breakfast option, maybe give it a try. I look forward to seeing you guys soon, and have a great day.